What is going on, Governors? Chisgule here, and today we're going to talk all about spending priorities and Rise of Kingdoms. How do you get the best bang for your buck if you are spending money in this game? If you like Rise of Kingdoms videos where we advise on spending and show what you get from all the different bundles, then you should like and subscribe because we have spent literally thousands of dollars, I think north of $10,000 in this game easy at this point, and we've got some pretty strong opinions about where you can find the absolute most value. Now, when we talk about value, we want to be really cautious here. When we use this word value, I want to be careful that you should be smart with your finances. Don't go into credit card debt. This is a mobile game, gosh darn it. So make your life priorities accordingly. And, I'm not a financial advisor, but make smart choices here, okay? So if you are spending in a mobile game, here's the sequence of things that I think gives you the best bang for your buck. And before we even get into what bundles you go and buy and what things you go and spend money on, I want to call attention to a couple events that should potentially influence when you time your purchases. And that includes the recharge event. Now, the recharge event is something that takes course over 5 days, and you have to purchase a certain amount of gems worth of packages. And when we say gems worth, what you see how King's Coronation says you receive some number of gems. Same with Hammer and Anvil and so forth. The daily special offer, you get some number of gems. You got to get some number of those gems, 2,500 each day over the course of 5 days, and you get extra value. I'll flash up on the screen what that extra value is. It's pretty stupendous. So if you are a very, very low spender in this game, everything you should be thinking about is in the lens of when are you spending to potentially get the most value. And that's especially true if you're a medium spender. If you're a super low spender, then it has less of an impact, but we'll talk about still how you can time it. The other thing we want to talk about is something called the road to greatness. I'm actually on my mini account right now to be able to show this because, of course, we completed it on our main. And just like how with the recharge event, you obtain gems in order to unlock stuff, the same is true here where there's multiple tiers of this recharge event where when you go and you get gems from purchases, it will unlock the road to greatness, which is basically more free stuff, free. It's extra value with some of your initial purchases in the game, which is pretty spectacular. So if you're a super low to medium spender, this will be a nice thing to either unlock over time, or if you're a high spender, to just get right away by virtue of some of the purchases that you're making. So with all of that said, let's get into where you actually throw down the bucks. Where do you spend the money? And your number one priority should be, at the lowest tiers of spend, should always be this 30-day gem supply. You get a huge number of gems for the amount of money that you're spending here. It's $10 a month, which is still $120 a year, which is a lot of money. If you factor in the amount of time that you spend playing this game, that might seem like a reasonable place to put $10 a month. But this, in my opinion, is the number one slam dunk best value you can find all around. Second, maybe to one other thing that has an additional requirement that we'll talk about in just a second, but this 30-day gem supply you should have going all the time. When we were king of the kingdom, we actually purchased the 30-day gem supply on our mini account. This is a farm account that we use to send resources to our main account so that we could gem out kingdom buffs. That's sort of an advanced topic, but that's why I have 95,000 gems on my mini. Anyways, we're not a king anymore. That doesn't matter. The number two area where you should invest money, and by the way, before I go anywhere else, I actually do not think the rest of the 7-day bundles here are particularly good value. I really am not a fan of these. Maybe an extremely high spender in the game wants the gold. Maybe. But I generally feel like you're better off just buying the bundles, and the bundles are one of my very lowest spending priorities in this game compared to all the other things that you can go and do. So I actually don't think these are all that amazing. When you think about what you're actually getting for $5 here, if we look at this 7-day food supply, you get 1,050 gems and 7 million food. Well, gosh, you go gather from 7 food nodes that are level 6, and you've made 1 million food. So, like, you could spend $5 or you could send a gatherer out 7 times. I don't know. Just make a mini account if you don't have one. I don't think this is where you should spend your money. Just the 30-day gem supply. Even the 7-day speed-up supply, I find to be very unimpressive. You're getting like 2,600-ish gems worth of speed-ups, which is really not even worth of speed-ups, worth of value total. So it's like 1,000 gems and like 1,500 gems worth of speed-ups. It's just not, this is not worth. Just the 30-day gem supply, not the other stuff. Okay, moving on. The growth fund is absolutely stupendous once you get to City Hall 23 or higher. Leading up to this point, you kind of like just get the 30-day gem supply and you can start getting a lot of value right away. Once you hit City Hall 21 and definitely City Hall 23, you can purchase this growth fund and you get a huge number of gems worth of value per dollar that you've spent. And once you get to City Hall 25, that 40,000 gems is going to feel really, really good. For $15, this seems like a pretty solid purchase to me. In fact, one of the very highest value purchases, in my opinion, you can make in this game. Now, the next thing that should be on your radar for spending, if you want, and this is a big if you want to focus on legendary commanders, is something called the Writer of History. Now, Writer of History only becomes available when you unlock a legendary commander. This is a limited time thing. I happen to save some commanders to unlock just so I can show you this bundle. Let's summon Freddy so we can show you the bundle. Bada boom. Writer of History. For $5, you are getting a huge amount of value. These legendary commander sculptures are really expensive to obtain other ways. You can apply these sculptures to any commander you want. If you were, I think it's VIP 13, maybe it's 14, you can buy legendary commander sculptures for 2,000 gems a pop, which I would not recommend. There's many other places to spend your gems that you get better value. But for $5, you're getting really a lot of stuff in this bundle. But as you can see in the upper right here, you really only have an hour to make that purchase. So when you're unlocking legendary commanders, know in advance whether or not this is a thing that you are planning to do. There's one other limited time bundle that I'm going to flash up on the screen now that I actually took a screenshot of when it popped up for me initially. And that is the 5-star general bundle. 5-star general. And this bundle is interesting. It's focused on epic commanders. In the early game, if you're a big spender, this is a great use of $5. If you're a medium spender, this is probably a good use of $5 in the early game. But as you make your way toward the late game, this becomes completely irrelevant. I don't know. I didn't buy it, so I guess I saved myself some trouble there. I've got more experience than I know what to do with, really. And you do use a lot of experience in this game. I have farmed a lot of experience in this game. That's part of the reason that that's true for me. But, I'll show you that once your account gets old, you will have more epic commander sculptures than you truly will know what to do with. So if you want a little boost in the early game, you can do it. Otherwise, that's really not a bundle that adds a lot of value. The next bundle that I want to talk about or purchase, really area where you could spend a whole bunch of money, is in the VIP shop. Every time you get to a new VIP level, a new chest becomes available for purchase. And these chests tend to be pretty high value, actually. I'm going to flash up on the screen an evaluation I did a long, long time ago, all the way up through VIP 10, and the value associated with each of these chests. And the reason the value is high in these is specifically because of the legendary commander sculptures, and the number of legendary commander sculptures per dollar that you spend is actually remarkably high in the VIP shop. The other thing that makes purchasing these special privilege chests from the VIP shop kind of interesting is that you can get a lot of arrows of resistance, which eventually you'll have plenty of those, and that you'll have really overflowing. But the major accelerant that you'll need a lot of to level up your castle to get to a maxed rally and T5 troops is going to be these Books of the Covenant. That's going to be the bottleneck for you. And so as you get higher and higher in the VIP levels, and now we're talking more of a late game priority, you can pick up these Books of the Covenant at actually a pretty reasonable value. Normally you're spending, gosh, what is it? I think it's 10 gems a pop if you just want to buy these things. Book of the Covenant, 10 gems a pop. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. So, if you go in here and you are spending in the VIP shop, you actually can find a fair amount of value. This 1,000 Books of the Covenant, that actually represents 10,000 gems worth of value if you were to go and turn around to spend your gems on Books of the Covenant. You'll be getting Books of the Covenant, by the way, from doing Barbarian Forts, and you'll do a lot of forts, but it is a slow, long grind if you are going to do this without spending any gems at all. You can do it, but spending in the VIP shop can really accelerate this. Now, you can get these Books of the Covenant at VIP 10, a large amount of them, but not at VIP 11. It's not in VIP 12, and they do show up again in VIP 13 and also VIP 14. VIP 14 is, by the way, a huge amount of VIP to obtain, right? So this is a pretty advanced, high spender priority, and the thing that makes this really high value or not is how much value you think you get from these Hannibal Barca sculptures. In the early game, it is tremendous to have a legendary commander when other people do not. Hannibal Barca is great for that early game. I'm starting to question what his role is late game, however, and so I want to caveat that there's a lot of value there, sort of, depending on how valuable you think Hannibal Barca is at the stage of your own development as a player. One thing I'm seeking clarification on is this third skill here, which says, when attacking other governors' garrisons. I'm pretty sure that this only applies to cities, but if this does apply to flags, forts, passes, holy sites, then actually this siege skill could be quite good, and my estimation of Hannibal Barca as a commander might need to change. There's a lot of value to having a commander that's got 4 skills that are relevant to the activity that you are doing. Anyways, we'll cover Hannibal Barca, and I'll leave a pinned comment down below if, in fact, this does apply when you are attacking flags, holy sites, etc., because I think that has some implications for what commander combinations you might want to go and use, and especially how valuable this commander would be. We're talking about getting value for your spending, right? Let's move on to the next highest value item, in our opinion, for mid spenders and above, right? So at this point, low spenders are strategically going in and getting that 30-day gem supply. They pick up some VIP, which they're, doing really well with. Occasional Writer of History bundles if they want those legendary commander sculptures. For a low to no spender, those are some good priorities. As we get more into the mid-tier spender realm, these treasures are actually kind of an interesting pickup. The one that is most compelling is the Treasure of the King, and that is because it comes with action point potions, which you can convert into a huge amount of value during events, and have a real meaningful value beyond probably how much you're sort of paying for them in this bundle. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is the Treasure of whatever, and this treasure actually changes. So it first gives you legendary commander sculptures for Cao Cao, potentially, There's a chance you could get some other stuff too. After you have expertise Cao Cao, then the chest changes and it gives you Charles Martel sculptures. And once you've expertised both Cao Cao and Martel, then it converts to El Cid sculptures that this chest gives you. Now, my understanding is that if you purchase all 3 of these chests, you are guaranteed to get legendary commander sculptures in at least one of them. It could be, however, that if you just buy this one Treasure of the King every single day, it could be that the way this works is just every 3 treasures that you open, you're guaranteed to get a legendary commander sculpture in at least one of the 3. I don't know exactly how that works, but if you're spending here, I think Treasure of the King is a pretty solid pickup for those action point potions specifically, where you can convert those into a lot of value. And the thing that I did when I was spending here was I was buying all 3 every single day because I was really trying to accelerate the rate at which I was obtaining sculptures for the legendary commanders that I was investing in. Let's head over to the next spend area, which actually now is a super value bundle. This is the first super value bundle we would recommend as a spending priority, and that is King's Coronation. King's Coronation has a huge amount of resources and speed ups compared to other bundles that are available. And I'll call attention to the fact that these speed ups are universal speed ups, which is really quite spectacular. You can use them on literally whatever you want: building, research, troop training, healing if you wanted. Probably that's not where you're going to spend your universal speed ups. I would hope not anyways. But this bundle is really very spectacular. And if you're going to go and spend on a bundle, this is the first bundle that you should go and max out. Now, if I remember correctly, all the other super value bundles, you can buy the $100 tier 3 times. I'm pretty sure in King's Coronation, you can do the $100 bundle only once. So it is limited, then it sells out, and it never comes back. That said, it is always available to you, so there's no urgency to go and pick this bundle. There are, however, a series of bundles that are much more time sensitive, and we're going to talk about those now. One of those is called One Step Ahead, and when you hit certain City Hall tier levels, and we'll flash a couple of those bundles up on the screen over here now, when you hit those levels, you're going to have the option for like an hour to go in and purchase these bundles. I think that generally these are slightly higher value than the super value bundles that are available to you. There's a couple attributes of these One Step Ahead bundles that I really like. One is that the speed ups are universal, so you can use them for really whatever you'd like. And the thing that actually kind of works against it a little bit is that you can see here these gems come in the form of a token, which means that they are not going to count toward your, at least I'm pretty sure they're not going to count toward your road to greatness or toward those recharge event rewards that we were talking about earlier. So just know that when your City Hall tips over to like 21, and I think it's most of the odd numbers for the City Hall, this is a bundle that's going to pop up. I think it's actually pretty good value. If you compare the number of gems of value that it says it gives you to equivalent dollar value bundles that are super value bundles, other than the King's Coronation, One Step Ahead will be better. The thing I want to caution around looking at bundles in that way is that it says, for instance, the $50 One Step Ahead bundle is giving you 112,700 gems of value. That's actually full price value. If you go into the VIP shop, you can get these items at actually a much, much better gem rate. So usually when it says some number of gems worth of value, it's actually half that amount of gems worth of value if you are buying them very, very smartly, intelligently. Oh my gosh. From the VIP shop, which I'm sort of flashing on the screen now. So you can get much, much better value actually in the VIP shop than the number of gems worth of value that it's telling you, but still, that applies to all the bundles. This is the bundle I would buy before going in and doing super value bundles if you are a high spender in Rise of Kingdoms. if you are a very, very high spender in Rise of Kingdoms. The next limited time bundle that we need to talk about is going to vary, and that is holiday bundles. Your mileage truly will vary on the holiday bundles. What I will call attention to is the fact that typically these holiday bundles show up at the same time as a recharge event, which means you are getting insane amounts of value from the spending that you're doing there. And I would recommend those holiday event bundles very, very highly. They tend to give a bunch of goodies. In fact, I'm sure I've got some of those favorited here. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. This was a huge amount of speed ups, a solid amount of resources in a pick one format, which means you can convert it to whatever type of resource you want, which is great. I actually find myself converting those into gold now, which I never expected I would do, but I'm running out of gold, which is kind of nuts. And typically the other items that are contained within these bundles can be converted into legendary commander sculptures or other goodies, which we would highly, highly recommend if you are a higher spender in the game, that this is where you should certainly be spending. And, if we qualify a mid-tier spender as someone who maxes out a bundle every now and again, then it should be these holiday bundles that you're buying. The next thing that I want to talk about that is also a limited time purchase opportunity is the Fate Changer bundle. And if you find yourself getting into trouble, a huge number of troops hit the hospital in a short window, there's a $50 bundle and a $100 bundle, and we find the gem value of these to be incredibly high. You get more speed ups and resources than you normally would, so I really like the bang for your buck here. That said, a lot of those speed ups are in the form of healing speed ups, which are really, really awesome, but honestly, if you're like leveling up your city in Rise of Kingdoms, that's not a thing you should need a lot of, unless you're doing a ton of war, in which case, I don't know, at some point you should tap out, and I feel like tapping out makes sense when you are using your universal speed ups to be healing troops. That is not a good situation. You really got to be an end game player to be making that kind of a decision. So I love this bundle. Every time it pops up, I buy it. And I'm pretty sure that only one of that bundle can be popped up at a time. I didn't think that used to be the case, but I got double rallied twice. I'll put a card up in the top for that video where it was totally insane. And I thought I would have multiple of that bundle pop up for purchase, and it didn't happen. Only one showed up. So worth considering. You may have to buy it before you can pop another one. I know some number of people try to use tier 1 troops and have a friend go hit them to try to make that bundle pop up so you can purchase it. That is one strategy you could use to make that show up. Okay, now we've covered all of the time-sensitive bundles. I think there might be one I missed. By the way, if I miss a bundle, let me know down in the comments, and I'll happily, in my pinned comment, tell you where it belongs in this tiered list of spending priorities. The very last area to talk about is the super value bundles. This is the last area to talk about. Now, there's some bundles here that, look, if you're considering going to a new kingdom, then the New World bundle, that's the way you're getting your passport pages once you hit a certain amount of power. This is just how you have to do it. So I'm not going to talk about the level of value of that bundle because, look, if you're going to another kingdom, you need it, you buy your passport pages from there. And, is it worth the money to be in a kingdom where you're really, really happy? Yes. Yes, it is. The Call of the Ancients bundle is the next... actually, I'll say it a little differently, is the first priority bundle for someone who's already toward the end game or is already City Hall 25 and has their T5 troops. And the reason I say that is that this bundle has more speed ups and goodies for a top tier player who's training a ton of troops, someone who likes to spend a ton of time at war. It really gives you a huge amount of value. This is a limited time bundle. It shows up only when Ark of Osiris is going on, which is basically once every 2 weeks. And this is a bundle I like to max purchase and is my personal top priority for spending. That said, if what you're doing is still building up your city hall, then this is not a bundle that I think should be a high priority for you. I actually would steer you instead toward the City of Hope. Now, City of Hope is a bundle that gives you building speedups, regular speedups, and a bunch of resources. And if I remember correctly, it doesn't include gold, which you don't really need a whole lot of gold if you're building up your city, specifically the buildings in your city. So I think this is a great bundle in the early to mid game as you're powering up your city. And it's something that I actually max purchased when I was working my way toward City Hall 25 and also a level 25 academy. The next bundle I would steer you toward, after you've already got your buildings maxed out at 25 and you're working your way toward T5 troops, is the Fountain of Wisdom. I really like the Fountain of Wisdom. It gives a lot of gold, which, gosh darn it, that's the thing you're going to need once you hit T5, is unbelievable amounts of gold. Unbelievable amounts of gold. So I like the Fountain of Wisdom bundle. A lot of great speed ups that can go toward your research here. And that is where those speed ups will show up, by the way, a blend of universal and also research speed ups. I really like this bundle. This is one that we max purchased at least half a dozen times. Kind of crazy to say that out loud, as we were making our way toward T5 troops. The next bundle that I would put emphasis on is War Machine. And that's, in my opinion, if you're already at T5 troops and what you want to do is now train lots of troops for Mighty Governor. This is the place to go and spend your money so that you can go and train lots of troops, assuming that you're already, by the way, max purchasing Call of the Ancients, because I think that at that point this is a better bundle. So Call of the Ancients is a higher priority than War Machine, so I wouldn't be buying War Machine unless you already have max purchased Call of the Ancients. The next bundle that I would consider, and now we're entering like the realm of the insanely high spender, is Living Legend. Living Legend gives you a bunch of stars, epic, legendary, and gosh darn it, ordinary. Ugh. Why are these in this bundle? It gives you a ton of gold keys and a ton of experience. And this bundle, I think, is really interesting for people who spend almost no time playing and want to put experience onto their commanders. Really, that's who this should be purchased by. The gold keys, I think, are actually not extremely high value. The epic Starlight sculptures will become totally worthless to you toward the late game. Totally worthless to you. I mean, if I go into my inventory, by the way, I've got almost every epic commander to 6 stars, and look at all these extra stars I have. It's entirely possible that at some point they will create a world in which you could level your commander up to 70, and you'll need more stars to go and do that. But for now, the max level is 60, so the epic stars will be worthless. The blue stars will be worthless as you make your way to the late game. The real question is, how much value are you getting from the gold keys? And if we go to the tavern and we look at the reward list for these gold chests, the amount of value you get from these gold keys depends a lot on how much you value these legendary commanders. And if you're in the early game, how much you want to accelerate your progress toward epic commanders, because you will get a lot of epic commander sculptures, and in the early game, that actually is super valuable. So if you're like a mega high spender, then yeah, this chest makes sense. But if we just look at these commanders real quick, Julius Caesar is really a great commander for, if you look at their skills, like where you get max value when you're hitting a player city in the open field outside of a rally. That's when all 4 of their skills are relevant. Like, that's not really a thing. Same is true of Freddy. Like, that's not really a thing. He's a great commander, right? But, like, I feel like he's not that important. I don't know. Maybe there will be a commander that really enables him and makes him totally gangbuster. I know Isonye with Freddy is pretty amazing. I know also that Khan with Freddy expertise is pretty fantastic in the open field, but I feel like this commander's fine, but like these are both commanders that, by the way, have skills for hitting cities, which your average player is just not doing. Your average player should not be hitting cities. The same is true of Mehmed II. Like, this is a commander focused on hitting cities. So this should not be a priority for you. This should not be a priority for you. I let the other bigger spenders around me, and I'm a big spender. I let the other bigger spenders around me go invest in commanders like that because you don't need a ton of them. The number of times that you're hitting cities is really low in this game. Really low, except with the early game gets a little crazy, but again, that's big spender territory. Now, I think Cao Cao, Martel, El Cid, all really fantastic commanders, but darn it, they show up in those daily chests that I was showing you earlier too. And Cleo, I mean, it's cool to get Cleo sculptures, but you can get her from the supply event. So these gold keys are an accelerator toward expertising your epics. That is true, and it's good for that. The gold keys get you some legendary commander sculptures, but once you've expertise some of these commanders, they become totally worthless when they show up in a gold chest. And, you know, we'll see if I can make that happen, right? So there's 5 Cao Cao sculptures. I have now 254 above and beyond what it took to get the expertise skill, and they're nearly worthless to me. So gold keys lose their value over time. It's been a long time since they've added a new one to the gold keys, and it probably will be a long time yet before they add another one there. So I'm really not feeling amazing about the Living Legend bundle, but that is an area where you could go and spend. The other area you could go and spend if you're a big spender in this game is the Hammer and Anvil. And overall, this bundle is way less value than the other places. These other places give you speed ups, and speed ups you can convert into legendary commander sculptures via Mighty Governor. So I feel like Hammer and Anvil is really a bundle that should only be purchased by people who are basically obsessed with gear or are at the very, very, very end game and they have more troops than they possibly know what to do with. And what they really want is to get a teeny bit of additional incremental edge by having slightly better gear than everybody else. I have personally purchased this Hammer and Anvil bundle, max purchase. It goes up to, I think, a total of $35 that you spend on this. There's a $5, $10, and then $20 tier for Hammer and Anvil, and then, you know, you got to wait till the next day before you can purchase it again. I have purchased this max purchase like probably 10 or so times because I was a rally leader and I was preparing for KVK. I was also a defense captain. So for me, it actually was incredibly important to have some of the very best stats available to protect the troops in my kingdom. So we went in and we were max purchasing that. We have not been subsequently. Am I tempted to if I, you know, get some really cool patterns I want to go make? Maybe. But I'm using my better judgment here and reserving those dollars for bundles like Call of the Ancients. That's really where I'm prioritizing my spending, and I pretty much max purchase this every time it comes around. $385 every 2 weeks. This is totally normal, right? This is normal. Jokes aside. The very last area I might prioritize is resource reserves. Who should be spending in resource reserves is the players who are spending insane amounts of money in this game. They're battling like crazy in the open field and they've run out of resources. That's when you go and buy resource reserves. This is a bundle that you purchase when you don't have time to have a mini account that you send out to gather resources, and you're just like spending like crazy, and you're fighting like crazy. It is the top tier fighters who don't have a lot of time to gather resources that are spending their money here. And yeah, that's a expensive pickup. That's a really expensive pickup. There are a few other bundles that show up occasionally that are pretty high value, but they only cost like $2 or $5. I don't know if I have any of those saved in my favorites. I wonder if I can find that in here. Gosh. Occasionally, there's Writer of History. I guess I could have showed that to you from here. Occasionally, there is a bundle that shows up that's really weird, and I'll have some gold stars. Yeah, I can't find it. Totally worth picking that up if you are a medium to high spender. If what you need is the gold stars, I go and I purchase that when it shows up, and it's like $5 or $10. But that covers all the bundles. Every single place, I think, Oh, no. One more place you can spend money we didn't talk about. And that's because it's so low value. I have not even done this once. Not even once have I done this. Where you just buy gems outright. Just buy bundles, man. Ladies and gentlemen, just buy the super value bundles. You'd have to be maxing every super value bundle and still need more gems somehow for this to be a thing. This is not a thing. This is definitely not a thing. No. Here's why. For $100, even just buying it once, I could get 50,000 gems. Or, for instance, I could buy, let's see here, this $100 celebration bundle. I mean, this is definitely more than 25,000 gems worth of value with the 8-hour speed ups, 3-hour speed ups, 60-minute speed ups, the pick one chests, and these other goodies that are going to convert into legendary commander sculptures. Slam dunk, way more value. Way more value. So, yeah, I have never purchased from the gem store, not once, which is why I still have that little first purchase ribbon that shows up in here. Okay, now I think we've covered all of the areas where you can spend gems in Rise of Kingdoms. What do you think? Was this helpful? I know this was a longer video, but there was a lot to talk about, and we're talking about spending money here, so I wanted to give some really comprehensive guidance. If you found this video helpful, it took longer to make, so please do like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below to tell me your thoughts, and until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.